Sorry, I was already laughing because Sam's Tangled Web already made me laugh. So I'm now live. I'm doing a live stream as part of my Christmas haul and the books I got for Christmas, but Sam already has me laughing in the chat. I will say, I am a Marvel guy first. And Reggie and I joke a lot about how we must have been born at the same signs and the same moons or whatever, because we have a lot of the same tastes in comics, and we seem to have the same ideas about what to collect and when. So Reggie just dropped a video series last night, basically highlighting some books he picked up. And I'm on like the exact same page with him. And I've had these books in my possession since basically like the end of November. But the way I got them, which I'll explain in a second, meant that I couldn't show them off until January. So I'll run through all of that in a little bit, but I wanted to give some people a chance to jump in the chat. If they've clicked the bell on my channel, if you have done that, next to the word subscribe, there's a little bell. If you click it, then it just gives you a little notification whenever I go online, go live or what have you. I've done it for several people in the chat, so I get links like this from RB3, who just joined the chat, and Sam. And so if you are like me and you want to know when somebody goes live, you subscribe and then you click the bell. It just lets you know when that happens. So a few people are jumping in the chat here, so I'm going to shout some people out. Mr. Garrell, of course, always here. Discovery Bay, nice to see you. My girls wanted to rewatch your girls opening the package that we sent them the other day, just because they want to relive the gift-giving moments. That's fantastic. So if you guys aren't subbed to any of these people that are in the chat, definitely check them out. They're really awesome people. So I've been talking a lot about Christmas gifts and about how this new set of books came to me. There's a gentleman on Instagram named Joey's Comics, and I'm going to show you his thing here if you can see that. That's Joey's Comics. He has a little Batman with a blue mask as his icon on Instagram. If you go to Joey's Comics, he's a really great seller. He's a really honest guy. He's very helpful and he gives good deals. And I've known him for pretty much as long as I've been collecting as an adult. He works at my LCS. He's a very friendly guy. And I've honestly made some of my best purchases for big boy books or whatever through him. He is the one that is deciding to sell his collection. He's working on going to nursing school. His family is a lot of nurses in his family, and he's working at the LCS where I go just to pay the bills. And he also he's got that hustle, that Comic Tom hustle. So he goes with my LCS owner to conventions and things. He buys books that he thinks are undervalued. He holds on to them, and then he flips them. And he's been doing this for a long time, and I've been both the benefit of this, where I can then buy a book from him before it goes all the way up, and at the same time, I've sold books to him that have gone up a little bit. So that Deadpool that I'm always talking about, that New Mutants 98 that I held on from when I bought it off the shelf, I sold it to him, along with my Amazing Spider-Man 361, the first Carnage. Basically, characters that I don't love that go up in value, I want to sell that to somebody who will appreciate it. I would be willing to bet my New Mutants 98, and this is the only drawback to it. If I had slabbed it, it would have been a 9.6 or a 9.8. It was a beautiful book. So he recognized it as quality, and we did trades back in the day. When he came to me and said, I'm selling a lot of my collection, my ears perked up, and we started haggling. And that's basically what's going on here, and I'm going to be sharing some of those books. RB3 says, I bet if you sold those DVDs and Blu-rays, you could have an Action Comics #1. Sadly, I don't think those hold their value the same way as an Action Comics #1. In fact, most people come to my house and they laugh about these and think, why do you have a collection of DVDs? Everything streams these days. And my response is, I'm an impatient person. And if I want to watch Die Hard and it's not streaming anywhere, I'm going to be frustrated. So I would like to go to my shelf and grab my Die Hard and throw it in the DVD player and watch it. Merry Christmas to me. So my collection is usually stuff that I am too impatient to wait around for. But I do agree. I do have quite a collection going. And it was my first love. I came from film school and filmmaking, and I worked at film festivals, and I even made films and went to film festivals with them. So it is my first love. Movies are a big part of that. Discovery Bay, sorry, I understand you've got to go. Boy Who Had Seven is in here. Kachung, it's good to see you, man. Kachung is an awesome guy. You got to follow him on Instagram. Such a great guy. And his lady, too, she's really great. I'd have to get her icon and see. I want to say it's Delta something. Man, sorry, Delphia Spark. They've both got just really fun stuff. The cosplay they do is unreal. So you got to check those guys out on Instagram. If you don't follow them on Instagram, really, really cool. Okay, so when it came to these books, I couldn't possibly afford them all. There were too many great deals he had going on, and it was too expensive, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. And I only had a small amount of money left from Christmas shopping plans and all these kinds of things. So I went to my dad, I went to my mom. They're separated, but we do Christmas with both of them. I went to my wife, and I just kind of said, here's the deal. This is the amount of money that we're talking about. How do we make this work? And they all said, well, we were going to give you X amount of dollars for Christmas. What if we just give it to you now, and then you give us a portion of the books to wrap and give you at Christmas? So that's how it worked out. My mom and my dad both gave me the money they would normally have just sort of given you, like your parents sometimes do at Christmas, in the plan of me giving them some of these books, and then I would unwrap some on Christmas Eve, some on Christmas morning with my wife, and then some with my dad on Christmas Day. It was unbelievably awesome and generous, and this is the only way I could afford this haul at Christmas. This is a Batman figure, an action figure, one of the cooler ones that my girls like action figures. Really great range of motion on this guy. Super creepy, black, all buff and ripped up Batman figure. Yeah. Usually they like the girls. They got that Batman and they dug it. Usually that's the Wonder Woman. I've got like 5 different Wonder Woman figures from different styles of Wonder Woman costumes. So that's how I got all these books, through the generosity of those people in my life that were willing to help me out. That meant, though, that I could not share very many of them until now. And so today is going to be about sharing some of them. I'm going to start with the signatures. And to this episode is really focused on signature books that I got, because 4 of these DC Grails that I got had signatures on them. Reggie Collects, who is an awesome guy and has an incredible channel that I'm sure all of you know about, did recently another video on how do you value signatures that are unverified raw book signatures. And I definitely went through that. When coming up with a price and working with Joey, it was like, how do I value a signature without a grade? Now, the first book I'm going to share has a grade, is slabbed, and is a signature series book. And that is the CBCS 6.5 of Jimmy Olsen's pal, Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. This is the TV cameo appearance of Darkseid. And what I love about this book is not only is it signed by Neil Adams, he did this incredible silver remark of Darkseid's head right there on the front cover. I freaked for this. I was like, that is the coolest thing. I know Darkseid is a villain, really cool villain, but to have it signed by Neil Adams and then have him sketch that on the front was just too cool. So it has the Comic-Con listing where he signed it, and that was just, I could not resist that. So I got that book, but he also had this book with it. And this was the one that created the reason I created the thumbnail with that Grouchy Jack Kirby picture. This is the second cameo of Darkseid. And right there in the center is the Jack Kirby signature that goes along with it. So this is the challenge, right? It looks like Jack Kirby's signature. I trust my friend. I don't think he's trying to pull one over on me. If he believes it's genuine, I believe it's genuine. So how do I value a signature like that when I have no way to prove it? All I can do is hope that maybe someday if I decide to send something like that to CBCS, that they can verify it and that it comes back with a reasonable grade, even though it's, it's not perfect condition. I'm sure you could kind of see there's a pretty big crease going this way. The corner has got some pieces missing from it. They're rounded edges, and there's definitely some spine dings going along here. I'm not looking for this to be a 9 point anything. I would just want it to be verified that it is Jack Kirby's signature, and it totally looks like Jack Kirby's signature. All the ones I've looked at, it looks like Jack Kirby's signature. I don't know how you could fake it that well. On top of which, if you know anything about Jack Kirby's signature, and I had to learn a lot, Jack very rarely signed on the cover. He would usually sign on the first page underneath the sort of copyright where they had the date stamps across the bottom of the first page. So to see him sign on a cover, it's really, really rare. So those two books together, those first cameo appearances of Darkseid, were definitely like a, yes, that is the main reason I kind of went through this deal, was to get books like that. And originally, hi Carlito, good to see you in the chat. Originally, he even had a Stan Lee signature on an Avengers 4. It was a really beat up Avengers 4, fallen apart, still attached, all pages included, Avengers 4, but signed on the unverified Stan Lee signature, but it looked like Stan Lee. So for me, that was an original book I wanted in the set. Now, he sold that one when Stan Lee dies, because we made our deal right before Stan Lee died, and then Stan Lee died, and I hadn't paid him anything, so I was like, dude, no, you can totally sell it out from under me. I understand. He was really nice about it. He ended up giving me a different book for free as like a gift to say, I'm sorry I'm doing this, but I have to because I'm getting insane offers for this book now. But I wasn't upset because I still had this Kirby coming. I still had this Neil Adams coming, and it was just like, this is amazing just to have these in my collection. Yes, Mr. Garrell, I'm sorry that you're hating on me right now. You realize some notice when you go live would be nice. Sorry, TJ. I posted it in my post this morning that I would go live at 10 o'clock. I'm sorry that I didn't. I'll start including you on my little notices. I've only shared 2 books, and I'm going to share them again in a second, so don't worry about it. So for me, like I was willing to I was not upset with him that he sold that Avengers 4, and he apparently got an insane amount of money for it, considering it was so beat, but it had that signature and people were going crazy, and it was that book. Though, you know, even Tony Sanders the other day showed his Avengers 4, and it's like, it's that book. You know, it's iconic. It's that book. But for me, like, the Kirby signature meant more. So again, these are the 2 books. It's the first and second cameo appearances on a television screen, a very tiny television screen, of Darkseid. This one signed by Kirby. This one signed and remarked and verified, or witnessed, I should say, by CBCS. Those are the first 2 books, the ones that I really wanted to make this deal for, because it felt like pieces of history to me. And that's what I'm after when I collect, is to feel like, wow, that is a piece of history. And there's no way I could have afforded those without my family, for sure. Don't fear the green label. I agree, TJ. And that was Tony Sanders' thing. It's his I want to say his signature from oh darn it, now who is it? He has an Invincible #1 signed by Robert Kirkman, but because it's a CGC signature and it was not authorized, it just says pen marked on cover. But it's definitely Robert Kirkman's signature. You can look at it. And so for him, he was like, it was a great deal. I just wanted that book, and I get a signature, and I don't care that it's a different label color. It's not the yellow. Yeah, so these books are definitely blowing me away, and that's a big reason why I made the deal. But there were two other signatures in his collection from DC that were part of this deal with him. I'm going to go from older to younger. So this is the next one that I got. And again, for me, like Tony always says, low grade is better than no grade. And this is definitely a beat up copy, but this is Flash issue 139. This is the first appearance of the Reverse Flash, one of those key villains in DC, and of course in Flash's backstory. This one is signed by the inker, Joe, and I'm going to probably mispronounce it, but it's Joe Giella, I think is how it's pronounced, Giella. One of those great inkers from those early days, and just iconic work on this and many, many others. This is a very key book, of course. I'm not a huge Flash fan, But of course, he had this in his collection, my friend, and I was like, that's an amazing book. It is very beat up. The spine is held together, but it is quite dinged and banged. Lots of crease marks, lots of pieces, little chips missing and things. But that is Joe's signature there on the front, which again brings us back to this idea. It's an unverified signature. How do you value that? I knew the value of the book. I could kind of say, it's about this grade, and that would be about this much money. But then, how do you add a little bit onto that without basically inflating it beyond imagination? And I think Reggie made that point. Some people put a signature on a book and want to sell it for like 8-10 times the value when the signature only cost them $50 at the most. And does that seem fair? RB3's in here. Yeah, low grade is better than no grade. It's Tony Sanders, it's his mantra, and I fully agree with it. If you haven't subbed him up, Tony Sanders is a really cool guy. He's got a show on Friday night called The Hunt. It's got JD, Jeffrey Comic-Con, my buddy. It's got Tony, and then they're having a guest, a rotating guest. I will say, I was the first guest on their show, and I got skunked. It's a contest. It's like a competition activity, and I really enjoyed it. Those guys are awesome, but I got beat. And I tried to win with a coverless book for the hustle of the week, which is hard. The hustle of the week is a tough competition, and JD smoked me like he smokes everybody on that show. So it's a fun show. Sub up Tony Sanders if you haven't. So that was my third signature for my DC set. I was really struggling with how to value them, and Joey was just very upfront with me, trying to work through how to do it, because it's not a simple or easy thing to quantify. And again, the books were so low grade, it was kind of like, okay, is it worth just a little bit here, and then how do we add something onto that for that value of that one signature, right? And I loved I will say I also loved the placement of all these signatures. In the negative space here for Jack Kirby. Same here with Joe, right underneath the fist, and of the silver and the remark on this one, RB3. That is killer, especially for such an iconic villain to have his face now on the cover in silver. I almost couldn't put a price on that one. That was the one I struggled the most with. I was like, how do you put a price on that one? And it's already slabbed and verified as well. All right, this brings us to the fourth book in this set of signed DC books, and it's the most modern. This is from, I believe it's 1986 somewhere. This is the first appearance of Booster Gold, a character that is starting to get a little bit more interest. People are starting to enjoy him more, and I know he has a huge part in this Heroes in Crisis, which I've been really, really enjoying. Yeah, Carlito, it's still working. Is there a problem? I missed out on something there. I hope it's all right. And this one is signed by the creator, artist, and writer, Dan Jurgens, and his name kind of goes across here. It's the least readable of the signatures, but it's hard to get a good signature on this cover because there's so much color and black at the same time. But it's Dan Jurgens right across there. I did not know a lot about this character, Booster Gold. This is a decent quality book. It's only got a couple of spine dings. The corners are a little rounded, and then there's some kind of printer issue across the top. I don't know if it'll show up on camera. Yeah, you can see it a little bit there. A slight discoloration right across the top of the front cover. Like there was an issue with the slicer, or if it kind of just has a weird fade right across the top there. But overall, in really good shape. And I want to say he has another 2 or 3 copies of this that he is selling. So if you find Joey and you want a copy of that Booster Gold, he has it. So I got all 4 of those signature DC first appearance, second appearance, cameo appearance books as part of this deal with him. Joey's Comics. I'll go and show his Instagram page again here. He's really not trying to hustle so much anymore. He's really trying to get out of the game a little bit and get back into nursing. You're good, John. Just asking if Guy is still around. Oh, okay. So Joey is his name, Joey's Comics, and this is his icon with that blue Batman mask. if he still has books up for sale, I know he's raffling off a Spider-Gwen first appearance, things like that. And I bought 2 Spider-Gwens from him, great, beautiful books, and I just sold one recently. He's just really got good stuff. So how do you value those signatures? It's up to everybody. I know that. You have to make that decision. Okay, the book is worth this much. How much more is that signature worth? For convenience, like I don't have to go and get it. I know that there's a lot of good questions that kind of stem around that idea of how do you value a signature that's unverified. And so I had to go through that for those 3 books, really to kind of figure out what do I value those at. I'm going to finish this with 2 other DC first appearance books. I've already shared these on my Instagram, and you can see them more close up over there if you want. It is a pair of first appearances. This is Poison Ivy, the first appearance of Poison Ivy. And again, low grade, better than no grade. These are very beat up. And this one in particular is the most beat up of all. You can see this corner. It's not just a cover tear. It actually goes through like several pages in the book are missing this corner here. The books are all still held together, even though they've got lots of spine dings and creases. They could probably do with a cleaning. Most of this should be white, but it's pretty gray and a little bit of cracking almost happening on there. So that's the lower grade of the 2. I don't know what I would give it, but certainly less than a 2. This is, I would say, the lesser of the, outside the better of the 2. I know the cover looks the most creased, but the inside is perfect. And it still has, this one still has the pinup. If you don't know about this book, there's a 2-page pinup on the inside of Batman and Robin. And this copy has the pinup, and the pinup is fully attached. Everything is attached and in here still. The other one is missing the pinup. And some people are selling the pinup alone, just the pinup, for a lot of money, which seems crazy to me. So this one, the other one that's got the chip in the corner here, does not have the pinup. And I don't think it would get, it might get a 1, but I don't know about that. So those are the big DC grails that I got from my friend Joey for Christmas. My family helped me buy these, and I sort of spread them around. I'm probably going to spread the rest of the books I got in this Christmas haul into 2 other videos. Most of them will be the Marvel books. I have maybe 1 or 2 other DC books, but most of the rest are Marvel. What about no graded books? Is that better than not having a book? That's complicated. I just don't know. I don't know how you grade. What about a no grade book? Is it better than not having the book? That's tricky. I guess it would always depend on, for me, it comes down to the price. And these books, the price that my friend Joey was giving me for those books was amazing. Like, I could not believe the deal he was giving me. And even though they were low grade, his price reflected the grade and then some. Like, he was giving me a discount on top of that. So he was very straightforward with me. He would go online, we'd look at eBay sold prices and kind of go, okay, this is about where this book is selling for this grade. And then he'd be like, okay, if we think about a signature on that, do we add a little bit more? Then we came up with a total, and then he discounted that total for me. We came up with a deal. And it might have also been to do with how much I'd already done business with him. I'd sold him or traded books to him, and he'd trade and sold books to me. A lot of the keys you might see me selling, the ones, if I didn't buy them off the rack, I probably got them from Joey. I think I've only ever spent more than $100 on comics 4 times. And I want to say that 3 of those times were from Joey. So it was this time, it was it was when I got those Spider-Gwen books. And I think there was one other time I spent a little over $100, and it was from Joey. The other times I spent over $100, I think, was just this last year getting my Giant Size X-Men and getting those 2 Death of Spider-Gwen, Death of Green Goblin slabs. I rarely spend over $100 on a comic book. It just doesn't happen. I will say all the times I've done it, though, were in 2018. So that's partly why I'm backing off a little bit. I think I pushed the gas a little hard in 2018. I think a lot of us might have done that. So 2019, I'm going to try to work within my collection. And for that means for me, trading books, selling books that I don't need anymore, participating in auctions if White Whale or some other person is having an auction and I have books that I want to see if I could move. Those kind of things allow me to create a fund that will then let me work towards the books, the keys that I wanted, that I shared on my channel and on Alex's channel. Tony Sanders is in the chat now. So if you heard me mentioning him earlier, I know RB3 and several others did. I was shouting you out, Tony, you got a show tomorrow night. And I wanted to also mention his low grade, better than no grade comment. So there he is. He is the man for when it comes to this this principle, and it's one that I stick to as well. Hey, D Comic Queen is in here, and I've been shouting her praises a lot lately. She's got a great Instagram, and she's just starting on her YouTube. It's been really great. So cruise over and sub her up as well. So I'm going to recap my books real quick here. These are the first round of Comic Haul Christmas 2018 for me. They all came from my buddy Joey's Comics, and I've mentioned him several times. If you go over on Instagram and find me, I'm happy to give you his link if you can't find it in any of my posts. So this was the DC Signature Haul. It ended with 2 books that were not signed. These are 2 versions of the first appearance of Poison Ivy, one with the pinup and one without. Then I had 4 signed books from DC. TJ says, for me, if a book is not good enough, I have ridiculously high standards. I just move on to another. It's true. It's totally true. And for me, I felt like getting this big haul, TJ, my goal was it's a lot of low mid-grade books that I could maybe flip or sell and then use to then fund that higher grade quality book that I might really want. And there's another slab or 2 that I got in this deal, some Marvel books that I think will be really useful in helping me get there. So the 4 signature books I've got, one is this first appearance of Booster Gold, which I would say is like an 8.5, maybe a 9.0. And it's signed by Dan Jurgens right across the center here. For those that don't know, Dan Jurgens was the artist and writer in this first appearance of Booster Gold. He's a DC character. I know mostly Marvel fans in here, but he's a cool DC character. Very funny. He's in this Heroes in Crisis in a big way. That first issue of Heroes in Crisis with him is lights out. Then I got this first appearance of the Reverse Flash, signed by the famous inker Joe Giella. That's how you say it. This is unverified signature, and the copy has definitely had a little bit of a life, but between those 2 moments, I'm definitely valuing this as a very quality book. The last 2 books are the first and second cameo appearances of Darkseid in the comics here. And this one is the first appearance. This is a 6.5 signature witnessed slab from CBCS, signed by Neil Adams, the artist, and you've got this really cool remark of Darkseid's face right there on the cover. And then the second book is the second appearance of Darkseid, so it's the book right after that one. This one has an unverified signature of Jack Kirby right there in the center, in that sort of cool negative yellow space there in that book. So those were the big boy books from this sort of haul of books that I got for Christmas. I would say those were the primary reason I made this deal, and some of those books will be in my collection for the rest of my life, and others I'm always open. There's very few books in my collection that I'm not open for the right price to sell or trade. But my goal is, again, like I said, to work within my collection to kind of get rid of and trade the books I don't necessarily value as highly, so that I can then have a little fund to work from. Discovery Bay says he got a box from Carlito. Oh, nice. Cool. I'm going to have to check that out when you load it up. Carlito is amazing, dude. He's been a supporter of mine from the beginning, and we have great chats over on Instagram. He's just an absolute pleasure. He's just the coolest guy. And he has that awesome hat, which we all know about. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up. I will have a second and third video in this series because that was not everything. Like I said, I bought, that was what? 6 books. I think I bought close to 15. So I'm going to do this over several videos so that I can really enjoy the books and share them with you all. They will appear on Instagram. You can kind of get a closer view if you want to see how badly damaged they are, because they are low to mid-grade books at best. But I'm very excited by them for sure. Kachung says it's a good idea to work within your collection. And that was my goal, to build to enough of a level where I felt like I could work within my collection conceivably. Big Will, it's nice that you've arrived. I'm sorry that I'm just wrapping up, but you can definitely check out the replay, and I'll post the books on my Instagram. So everybody that came and showed up, thank you for enjoying this and joining in the chat. I've hit 350 subscribers on my YouTube, which is amazing. I'm almost to 900 followers on my Instagram, which is fantastic. My goal is 1,000 on Instagram and 400 on my YouTube, and then I'm going to do that giveaway that I keep talking about. So when I get there, it's not far off. That's my goal. I think having Comic Tom on my show last night might have helped me get a little bit over the hump there on the 350. So hopefully I can keep building on that and get to my 400 soon. Thanks to everybody who showed up. What is this selling thing everybody's talking about, says TJ. Yeah, TJ, I think you work on the either buying or just giving away, which, hey, I'm all for that. That is amazing. And I just sent away a couple of packages to Ryan and to Jeffrey Comic-Con. So hopefully they enjoy some of the things I sent them. But I am not on TJ's level by any means, but hopefully that stuff arrives soon. Only John I can afford. Thank you, Carlito. Well, I appreciate being near the top of that pinnacle for you, because that was a very nice gift. Just unbelievable. So thank you, everybody. I hope you're having a great night or a great morning, I guess, depending on where you are. I'm having a good morning. I'm clearly just waking up. I have Saturday morning comics with the girls. I don't think I've got another live stream coming up anytime soon, but I'm going to be watching Friday night. There's great stuff happening. So definitely check out some of the stuff like Bueller and The Hunt. There's great things going on Friday night. So thanks, everybody, and have a good day.